welcome to our preview call for our Tung Fu certification. My name is Sam Horn. I'm the originator of Tung Fu, and little could I have predicted when I wrote this book more than, gulp, 25 years ago, all the wonderful things that would have happened. In fact, it was 30 years ago that Dr. Ray Oshiro from the University of Hawaii asked if I would please give a course on conflict resolution. So I called it Dealing with Difficult People Without Becoming One Yourself. Now, that's a pretty good title. And we had people from all different professions. We had people from government. We had people from hospitality, from healthcare, from tech, from the airlines, from the banks, financial, had a real representative group. Well, at our first break, there was a gentleman in the front row, and he didn't even get up to get a cup of coffee or to go outside and get some fresh air. He just sat there gazing off into space. Now, I was curious, so I went over and I said, "What are you thinking?" And he said, "Sam, I'm a realtor. I deal with some very challenging and arrogant people. They seem to think they can treat me any way they want to. I'm tired of it." He said, "I thought you were going to teach us some zingers to fire back at people and put them in their place." And he said, "That's not what this is about, is it?" And I assured him that this was not about putting people in their place. It was about putting ourselves in their place so that we can respond with compassion instead of react with contempt. And now he was the one who said, "I'm a student of martial arts." He said, "I've studied karate, taekwondo, judo." He said, "What you're talking about is like a verbal form of kung fu, isn't it?" Eureka, the perfect name, Tung Fu. And that's what Tung Fu is. It's martial arts for the mind and mouth. It is how to deal with difficult people without becoming one ourselves. Even more importantly than that, though, it's how to give and get the respect that we all want, need, and deserve. And when I first wrote that book with St. Martin's Press more than 25 years ago, how could I have predicted that it would get a cover endorsement from John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, picked as one of the top 10 most important books published in the last 50 years? How could I predict it would get an endorsement from Jack Canfield and from Tony Robbins and from Brian Tracy? How could I have predicted that executive book summaries would say that it is a gold mine for anyone who deals with the public? And the great strength lies in two things. First are the unimpeachable ideas that add to the legacy of ideas on dealing with people left by Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, Dale Carnegie, and many others. Second are the examples, and that this is a comprehensive manual for getting ahead while inviting others to join you. And that's what Tung Fu is. It really is about collaboration, about turning conflict into cooperation, about transforming receptivity or resistance into receptivity, and transforming resentment into rapport. And little could I have predicted that this book, this trademarked methodology in communication and conflict prevention and resolution, would be presented in more than 20 countries, translated in 17 languages, presented at the Asian Leadership Conference with Jack Ma of Alibaba. In fact, Tweet Coleman, one of our certified trainers, brought me in to speak at the US Embassy in London on Tung Fu. It's been taught to Boeing and Cisco and NASA and to American Bankers Association and the Associated General Contractors of America. And our certified trainers have also taught it to hundreds of organizations around the world. Little could I have predicted that it would be featured in the New York Times and in Fast Company and Forbes and Reader's Digest. And to tell the truth, yes, I was on the TV show To Tell the Truth, and our panel stumped the group because no one guessed that I was the author of Tung Fu. And I was even on Jay Leno's Tonight Show with, yes, Tung Fu. Now, that's enough of the backstory of what it is. This is about what's involved with becoming certified in Tung Fu and why it might be a win for you or worth your while or part of your legacy and your contribution. So what we've done is we've invited two of our certified Tung Fu instructors to share their experience of it. And following what they share, we're going to talk about those 2 most frequently asked questions and then open it up to you. And like I said, I really do welcome your comments, your questions about what you're curious about. So first, let's bring up Donna Carroll. Donna, I'm going to let you in your time introduce a little bit about yourself and what Tung Fu has meant to you as a certified trainer. Welcome.
Hey, Sam. It's so good to be here. Hi, everybody. I'm always honored when Sam asks me to speak about something that I love so much because it has impacted my life and the lives of my clients. You know, when you talked about give and get the respect that you want, people are craving that. And especially during COVID, there seems to be a sense of almost anonymity because you're staring at a computer screen. And even though I see all of your beautiful faces in front of me, it isn't that tangible, you know, flesh and blood kind of connection that you have when you're in a room with somebody. And people tend to speak a little bit more abruptly, or they tune you out, or they go on their phones when it's not their turn. And it's this craving for a connection in a way that gives respect. And one of the things that I love about the Tung Fu program is not only do I speak on it and use it with my clients who are government, first responders, you could imagine what they're dealing with and the abuse they get, which I don't understand considering, you know, they put their lives on the line every single day, but that's another story. To be able to teach them to connect with people who are their worst at them at the time is a gift to me. And it also helps me deal with difficult people who are in the middle of crises and very stressful situations, and myself in how to really make a connection and ask somebody to partner with me rather than be angry at them for not giving me what I absolutely need in a time of crisis. And we've been in a few in our household over the last 5 years. So I'm not going to preach about the program. I'm going to say that it's become a part of me. It becomes a part of the language I use every day with my family, friends. It gives them a model to use with their family and friends, to the point where they ask me to even come to a family dinner. Now it's virtual happy hour, to talk about Tung Fu and how they could use it. So it's part of everyday life. It's not this add-on program. It's a tool, a framing, a languaging that just turns the world right side up. That's pretty much, you know, my 3 cents on the matter.
You know, Donna, and thank you. And I know your work as a TED Fellows coach, your work with first responders, with people and organizations around the world. You have a very famous story about dealing with a bully, although you don't call them bullies, Donna. And like, I think we have a little less than 2 minutes left. Can you tell that story in 2 minutes? Because it shows the transformation of what happens when we hold people accountable for their behavior and how it positively impacts everyone around them when we speak up instead of suffer in silence. Do you have time to share that story?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I was working with a president of an agency, and his entire, not his entire, 70% of his leadership team. One individual I was not working with, and he was a bully. He would have people in tears. He would go into somebody's office and lambaste them to the point where they would be bawling their eyes out and embarrassed as anything, because that's their reaction to him. And I said to his boss one day, I said, you need to do something about David. And he said, you do something about David. I said, he doesn't report to me, he reports to you. I said, but there's a way that I could handle it if you'll give me free rein, because I worked with him and he knew some of my lingo. I was working with his chief of staff, and David comes barging in and starts screaming at her about something. And I look at him and I said, David, do you know what your biggest mink hole is? And he says to me, I don't know what a mink hole is. I said, it's a fur-lined rat hole that you dig yourself in so deep that it might feel really good at the moment, but you're gonna have a heck of a time digging out. And then his boss, you know, sort of sticks his head in and goes, are you doing the mink hole thing? Because I have like code that I use with my clients. So I said, I'm telling him about the mink hole, and he just started laughing and went back into his office. The following day, David comes into one of the offices where I'm working, and he starts screaming at one of my clients. And I just shake my head, and he says, I know you're going to ask me what my biggest mink hole is today. I said, at least you got the concept. And then I go to leave, and he gets in the elevator with me and starts to scream at me that I need to do something with that young woman. She was like 21 years old. I said, no, not really. And I pressed the button on the elevator, and he said, you can't go out. Now there's somebody telling me what I can and cannot do. I said, of course I can. It's called press the button on the elevator, the doors open, and I leave. And I did just that. I'll take the next one down. And this went on
Donna.
day after day, but it's naming the language and not accepting it, making almost a joke out of it.
And the good news is he came around, didn't he? And it's my apology for not giving you enough time to do justice to that story.
No
it was
worries.
just that you called him on his behavior. And part of Tung Fu is talking about 5%ers. 5%ers don't want a win-win, they want to win. They don't want to cooperate, they want to control. And how can we still, in integrity, have the strength to deal with people who are violating the rules and other people are suffering as a result? And I remember people coming up to you and thanking you for having the courage to face up to him, because he did change his behavior and everyone benefited as a result. So thanks so much, Donna, for your story.
Thanks.
And for all the good you do as a certified Tung Fu trainer. And Rudy Sanchez, can you tell us a little bit about your work there with the government of Colorado? And I can't wait to hear your story.
Absolutely. Sam, thanks for having me. And Donna, what a great story. And you are absolutely 100% correct. This is a philosophy. It's a philosophy of the way in which we communicate. And my story is my story of a labor of love. My labor of love with, I'm a training coordinator for the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. So as a state government employee, I have the awesome opportunity to train our employees in soft skills and communication skills. And this is one, Tung Fu is a training that I've done for more than 8+ years with my employees as a champion of Tung Fu since 2002, when I knew about the book. So a labor of love out of respect for the work and all that Sam has created in this book. I just got certified in August of this last year. And what this training did for me was it allowed me to see my training and the work that I do. And it has allowed me to brand my training into a brand that I'm able to then move on and move it forward into the state of Colorado, maybe even into other agencies within the department. But that brand is how the brain responds to negativity and verbal attacks. And that's how it relates to Tung Fu. And by allowing me to get certified, the training really helped me to brand that. And one of my quotes, and it made it onto Sam's webpage, was, "Don't get furious, get curious." And that's just a quote that I've always used, but when I used it when I was getting certified this past August with Sam, she just latched onto it, and that's just something that has really allowed me to encapsulate that philosophy of what my training is. What it also did was it allows me to then continue that labor of love. And Sam, you'll get a kick out of this, but I was thinking about what I could do to kind of wrap it up. But I think of Tung Fu as a gift that keeps on giving. And I made a little acronym for GIFT, and what that means to me, and the honor that I've had in not only training and teaching Sam's work, but also honoring you, Sam, and the work that you do. So my acronym is GIFT, The G stands for gives grace. The I stands for intentional. It's an intentional training. The F stands for fun. Of course, it stands for fun, fun food. And then, of course, the T stands for timeless. This is timeless work. It's just been an honor to share with you all. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Rudy. I love your acronyms. I love your one-liners. I love Donna's quote images that she's using and all of the really innovative ways that you are making Tung Fu your own, because that's one of the goals, is that here's the framework. Here are these timely and timeless techniques. And then what are your stories? What are your experiences? What expertise are you bringing to the table? So it's this lovely blend, the best of the both worlds of what the actual Tung Fu trademark content is, coupled with everything that you know as well. So thanks to both of you. And in a moment, we're going to turn it over to Kendra, who's got a question. I just want to follow up on something you said, Rudy, about timeless and timely. You know, Jeff Weiner, who's former CEO of LinkedIn, said, do you know the #1 skills gap in organizations today? Communication skills. They can hire people with tech skills. What they need and what they desperately want are people who know how to talk to each other, people who can have the hard conversation. I just did a training for OutSystems based in Portugal, a universal international organization. They have a lot of 20 and 30 somethings in their call center and global support. They won't pick up the phone because they grew up communicating with their thumbs. And if there's a conflict, they just ghost the person. They don't know how to talk with the person when they're complaining or when they're blaming or shaming. And so that's part of what Tung Fu is to actually give us the talk tools, or as I call them in my Tung Fu 2.0 book coming out this year, talkniques. We have techniques, we need talkniques. And that's what Tung Fu is. So Kendra, let's hear a question from you.
Okay, we had a couple people ask some variation of this. What do I get for my money, and how would this be an ROI for me?
Wonderful. I love that question. I don't know many people who have money lying around. So how can we make sure that this is a return on investment? That of all the offerings out there, that this is something that you can trust will be time and money well spent. And I think the first ROI is that you get a shortcut. You could take the time and the 25 years to build your own methodology, or you can jump on the bandwagon of ours. You can jump on a bandwagon of an award-winning curriculum that has been taught to hundreds of organizations, so you get to go to the head of the class. This gives you a competitive edge, because if you want to speak at your industry organization, or if you're trying to get approval to bring this into your company, when they look at the track record and they see that it's been featured in New York Times, that it's been taught at Asian Leadership Conference, that it has been taught to all these associations, American Association of Association Execs and so forth, then they understand that they can trust that this is information that has benefited other people and produced bottom line results. And by the way, not just communication, it is conflict prevention and conflict resolution. Many people use it in their customer service programs. Many people use it in their employee orientations, their supervisory skills programs, their leadership development, in their diversity programs, because what it talks about is how we can create rapport in the first place, how we can get rid of words to lose and words to use. Now, what else do you get for your money? More than 30 years ago, I came up with this idea of showing the shift. I believe that juxtaposing ideas is the quickest way to make complex ideas crystal clear. So we put a vertical line down the center, and on the left are words to lose, and on the right are words to use. On the left is what causes conflict. On the right is what causes cooperation. On the left are reactions. On the right are proactions. And we actually give little stories pulled from real life, pulled from your workplace, pulled from your home, dealing with a teenager or toddler, pulled from the public. And first you hear the story, to think, oh my goodness, I use that word all the time, or that just happened to me yesterday. So we see what doesn't work, and then we replace it with does work. And the lights go on and the band plays, and people think, why didn't they teach us in school? So this turnkey program with step-by-step worksheets, with PowerPoint slides, with sample tweets and social media, with outreach that we've used, PDFs, in order to get selected to speak at proposals. All that is part of what you get for your money. And I talked about the community. You just met a couple of our certified trainers. We have a judge from Canada. We have an HR director in Hawaii. We have an FAA administrator from Florida. We have a woman who was former executive manager of the executive residence of the Obama White House. We have people from all walks of life, a school principal from Nova Scotia, a college professor from North Carolina. So we have people from all these different professions. Now, some of them, they really didn't even want to build a career speaking on this. They just wanted to use it in their organization. Some people didn't even want to teach it in their organization. They just loved Tung Fu so much, they wanted to do a deep dive and have an opportunity to be immersed in it and learn how they can use it with their children, with their family, or in challenging situations that they face with their community board or association. So that's what the ROI is that you get this turnkey program, this international track record, entree and access to smart, talented people who are doing this in a variety of ways all around the world. So that's answer to first question. Kendra, is there another one, please?
There is. The second question was about if there was a payment plan or a scholarship option.
Yep, there's both. It is, we understand that money is tight for some people right now. And just to let you know that this rate is the best rate we have ever in the history of certifying people for 15 years. It's the best rate we've ever done. And the reason is because the landscape has changed, and we understand that some people are really struggling with money. So we do have a payment plan. You can pay over 3 months. And we have a scholarship program. If you are part of a nonprofit, or if you are teaching in a school. My dad was an educator. Henry Fosdick Emerson said, teachers affect eternity. Who knows where their influence will end? So our give back to nonprofits and to teachers is that we do have an application for a scholarship. And if you apply and are selected for one of our programs, you get a very, very, very deep discount on the program. So you are welcome to put into chat or to email directly Sherry, CHERI, at intrigueagency.com. Intrigue Agency is INTRIGUE agency.com. And she'll tell you a little bit more about the payment plan and our scholarship program. And Kendra, I think we've got time to open it up for questions, and we wanted to give people who have joined us on this call an opportunity to ask. So if someone want to ask a question, if you put yourself on unmute, and please take less than a minute to ask your question, we'll hit the ground running.
Hi, just a question. Can you enroll at any time, or are there certain calendar days to enroll in the program?
Thank you for asking. We do this twice a year, and we may do it 3 times a year if there's more, if we fill up, because I keep the classes small. I want to customize this. I want, if we have people who all want to build a speaking career, we actually spend more time on biz dev, on how you can get paid speaking engagements, etc. So the answer is we have one starting this month, and we'll have one starting again mid-year. Check our tungfu.com site, because we may add times if people are interested. Good question. Thank you for asking.
Great. Thank you.
Please, what else would you like to ask? What else would you like to know?
What is the time commitment?
The time commitment, it's we have 4 live trainings, and they're 80 minutes each. And I hope you can tell I do not spin wheels. When we say 80 minutes, when we say we start at a certain time, you can count on us starting at that time. I always start with a quote of the day. I start with a success story of the day of someone who is showcasing this in real life so we can see how it works. We go right into the methodologies of words to lose and words to use, of the conflict resolution techniques, of dealing with bully techniques, of how to teach this, how to be on virtual and how to keep people engaged, how to field questions, how to think on our feet when people ask questions. So all of that is covered. It's 80 minutes for each of the 4 sessions. And then we make all of the content available on Facebook so that you can watch those videos as often as you want, whenever you want. You can access those worksheets. And once again, you are paying to use our trademark content. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can use our PowerPoint deck. You can adapt it and so forth for your own. You can use our worksheets. You can adapt it as long as you indicate that you are an officially certified Tung Fu trainer to protect the trademark. Good. Other questions you would like to ask, please?
How long does the certification last?
That's a good question. Is that we know that some people require that you re-up every year and that you pay a certain amount of money. The way we feel about it is that I'm very clear. My sister, Sherry Grimm, has been helping to run my business for more than 20 years. And when we first started certifying in people, we asked ourselves if we were going to do that. And then we realized that we're in it for the long game and that our goal is to have an opportunity to work with quality people who, like Donna and like Rudy, embody this Tung Fu philosophy of being kind and in integrity and proactive and going first and being the change we wish to see. And so long answer to a short question is that every 5 years, we have that you recertified. And that's for your benefit as much as for ours, so that you get updated techniques. We can't even predict what's going on virtually 5 years from now. So every 5 years, you can get recertified and updated in the content. Good. Other questions you'd like to ask, please?
What is the cost?
We have priced this at a way we make it affordable. We could charge a lot more for it. And we thought, what do we feel is fair for what people are getting? And that is that this competitive advantage of, once again, if you're speaking at a convention and there are other people who speak on negotiation or communication or conflict resolution or leadership skills, very, very few of them will have the proven track record that Tung Fu will. Good. Other questions? I welcome them.
How long does the certification take?
It's 4 sessions, 80 minutes each. So let's do the math. That's what, about not quite 8 hours?
But is that drawn out over a certain period of time, or you could do it?
We meet once a week.
Okay.
For 80 minutes. That's correct. So, and by the way, one of the reasons we've done that is that, people say, Sam, my organization needs this now. We are in desperate need. People are angry, they're stressed out, they're burned out, they're taking it on each other. Is that I can't wait 6 months. I can't wait 3 months. I really want to do a deep dive in these 4 weeks and do an intensive so that I'm prepared to start sharing this. After a month, you'll be prepared to start sharing this.
Great.
Good. And I know we've got about 2 minutes left. So is there one last question? And then I've got 1 minute to close things off.
Time frame on when these classes, do you poll the people and see when they're available, or?
No, these are scheduled. And so please, Kendra will put in the Facebook, the schedule for the one that we've got currently coming up. It's on our website as well. And so these are coordinated at a certain time. We encourage you to join them live. If you have to miss one of the live ones, it will be up on our private Facebook group, and you can watch it once again whenever you want and as often as you want, so you can have repeated views. And like I said, Richard Branson said, time is the new money. And I believe time is the new trust, so that you can trust that this will be a good use of your time. I would just like to wrap up with one more thing about Tung Fu. Catherine Graham of the Washington Post was asked what it was like being the editor of a large newspaper, and she thought about it for a moment. She said, to do what you love and feel that it matters, how could anything be more fun? Well, to do what we love and feel that it matters, the only thing that could be more fun is to do it with people we enjoy and respect. And that's what getting involved in the Tung Fu community does. And one last story, if you know me, you know that I can't wrap up without a story. It's the ongoing legacy of Tung Fu. I love that both Rudy and Donna talked about how it has impacted them personally and everyone in their personal and professional circle. And I will always remember I was in Brooklyn a couple years ago visiting my son, Tom and Mickey, and their 18-month-old son, Hero. And Hero crawled across the living room and he climbed up the guitar stand and he started banging on the strings of the guitar. Now, Andrew looked at him and what did he do? Did he yank the guitar away? Did he say no? Did he scold Hero and make him feel bad? No, you know what Andrew said? He said one word: gentle. And you know, Hero started strumming the strings, and there was a little bell hanging on the window, and he chimed the bell and he strummed the strings, and he turned to us and his face transformed with his wonder at making music. And I was so clear about the power of words. Words matter, every single one of them. And when we use words that help instead of hurt, and when we use words that help us and others focus on what we do want instead of what we don't, the transformational impact for all involved is our legacy. And I would love for you to be part of it. Thanks so much. We're going to end officially in case you need to go. And then actually we're going to keep going because you may have a question you didn't have a chance to ask. So once again, this is officially over. And if you have other things you'd like to bring up, I welcome it. If you are as lucky as I am, not only do you get to work with someone like Sherry, who I implicitly trust and who knows my business inside and out, you get to work with someone like Kendra, who is a tech wizard. And if you are part of the Tung Fu community, she's helping to make those PowerPoint slides available and the worksheets available and the videos. And if you have any questions about any of the logistics of being involved, Kendra can help you with those. So we have a great team helping to pull this off and put it together. And other questions, things you'd like to bring up, please.
Is there a test where we're individually tested and challenged to reveal that we have learned the material?
I'm really glad you brought that up because, see, we have transformed how we certify people. Is that in the early days, we charged quite a bit more than this. We charged 5 times more than this because back then, the vast majority of people wanted to be certified in Tung Fu so that they could build a paid speaking career. And we charged $10,000 to get certified because I knew that once you were certified, you could go out and get a $5,000, $10,000 keynote and you could pay it back in 2 times. As you know, that model has changed now. I have many clients who are professional speakers. All of them have gone to virtual. All of them have taken a deep cut in the fees and the income that they make. And they're bouncing back, they're coming back. People are now getting paid for virtual presentations. People are still getting paid to do corporate training. In fact, the need for social skills right now in hard times, the need for diversity, the need for conflict resolution skills, there's a huge need for it in training. So the answer to your question is when we used to charge that amount and almost everyone going through the program intended to then become a professional paid speaker, they gave a graduation speech where they needed to demonstrate that they were sufficient at a skill level. We just did a Tung Fu training a few months ago, and probably like 80% of the people did not intend to become a paid professional speaker. There was a college professor who was going to use it in her students. There was someone with the Park and Recreation Department who was going to use it with her team members. So we no longer have a graduation speech where you are expected to deliver a Tongue Fu presentation and it will be evaluated, because for many people that's no longer their intent. And one more response to you, one of the reasons I keep the size of the class small, under 10 people, is that if we do have people who want to be paid presenters, then like I said, we actually change the content to focus more on then, so how do you reach out to organizations? How do you get paid to speak? How do you allocate your fees? And then the final class, people actually do give like a little 10-minute presentation. So they have an opportunity to get feedback from me and feedback from others. So the degree to which we do that depends on the composition of the class. It's not required like it used to be. Good. Other people like to bring up questions or comments? Okay, then I'll bring up something that you may be thinking about. We've talked about speaking. Some of you may be authors, and I know, for example, Donna has been very active on LinkedIn, and she is driving visibility for her coaching and her speaking business through her writing. So if you're interested in doing articles, if writing is more of your interest than speaking, that's absolutely something that Tongue Fu is a platform for. If you're a social media influencer and you would like to do tweets and Instagram and have a presence, on Facebook or Facebook Lives or LinkedIn Lives or something like that. So the options of what you do with Tongue Fu transcend just speaking on it or using it internally with an organization, or offering corporate training programs, or to be brought in for virtual presentations by associations. There's all these other ways to use it as well. Good.
Sorry, I'm monopolizing the time. How different is the curriculum from the text? If we've read the book 5 times, how will the course be giving us additional information other than just the wonderful presence of you in person?
Well, I love your questions. Please keep them coming, because I think that you're asking what other people are wondering. So thank you. Here's the thing, is that Tongue Fu is trademarked. It is, I coined the phrase, we went through the official process. I don't just say it's trademarked, it really is trademarked. So to legally teach the content, you're supposed to be certified. In fact, people over the years, some people have started using it and they have not been certified and they have been charging for it. And our lawyer gets in touch to let them know, cease and desist. Because this is original intellectual capital. I did not read other people's books and cobble together something on communication. The content in here, especially when it was originated 30 years ago, and the fact that it's a huge bestseller in Turkey. It was the #3 book in South Korea 3 years ago. They said it's changing the patriarchy in South Korea because it gives people an opportunity to speak truth to power with respect. So back to your question, is that if you've read the book, that makes me very happy. To teach it and to be certified in trademark content where you have legal permission to be speaking on it gives it a gravitas and a respect and a legal permission that is important if you have any commercial plans for it. And it's not, and so I'm thinking about other interpretations of your question. The class is really more of a train the trainer. It's not delivering a Tongue Fu workshop like I would go deliver a Tongue Fu workshop. It is stepping outside of it and showing, and do you see what we do there? Do you see how we used a diverse example? Do you see how we did our homework on that group and we anticipated their objections? And so we baked them into our first 3 minutes so that people felt that they were heard. Do you see how if a group is resistant, if they were voluntold to be here by their supervisor and they're not happy about being there, how we can win them over with a personal story that may relate to what's going on at home instead of at work, which they're all upset about their boss. So there is a train the trainer process of delivering this one-of-a-kind content. You know, in the 30 years that I've been teaching Tung Fu, it has always been the top rated session at every convention it's been offered at. And not just me, Tweet Coleman, who's an administrator for FAA. The first week after she got certified, she delivered it for her local Federal Aviation Administration office. And so she was still green in it. It was just the content was so good that people think, you know, this is not infobesity. It's like, oh, don't use this word, use this word instead. It's like, oh, when people complain, don't explain, take the A train. So you've read the book 5 times, so you're familiar with the concepts. The emphasis is on this, is how to deliver the content or use the content in a way to keep people engaged, is to keep people thinking about how they can then go and apply it instead of just say that was a great course. Good. I really welcome your questions. Thank you. Other things you'd like to bring up? Okay, then I will wrap up. You can tell my word for the year is legacy. And I can hardly express what it means to know that you are doing something that makes a difference. That the impact of Tung Fu, one of our Tung Fu trainers is a woman who's a former female executive with Lockheed Martin. And she also mentors Girl Scouts, and she takes girls, teenage girls, out on hikes. And so she taught them Tung Fu. And she thought 12 and 13-year-olds, are they even going to be interested in this? And she said these girls come back and they are like, why aren't we learning this in school? You know, this just makes such a difference. You know, it's like, you know, I haven't talked with my best friend because she said this. And now if I'd known to say this, I could have said something at the time instead of just dissolved in tears and never speak to her again. So I guess if I were going to say something I haven't said about Tung Fu, it would be how gratifying it is to be able to share something with other people that can change their life and relationships for good, and to help them get a job that they want, or to help them have a hard conversation with the boss, or a grudge that they're carrying with an in-law. This is an idea from my son, Andrew. You may remember this example in the book, is that that he had made a mural of our hall wall on a rainy day. And, you know, I was not too happy about it. And he kind of circled his toe in the carpet. And then he looked up at me and he said 2 words. He said, fresh start. And we talked about how a family, their parents had been killed in a car crash and they had not left a will, and sisters and brothers weren't talking to each other. The family had fallen apart. And she said that she heard that idea, fresh start, and she got back in touch with him. And she said, let's not even go into who said what, why, you know, can we have a fresh start? And that family is together again because of 2 words, fresh start. That's just one example and part of what it means to know what to say in challenging times in a way that helps us come together instead of pull apart. I'm so glad that you've taken the time to join us, and please feel free to put other questions in chat if you would like, or to email Sherry if you have questions about the payment plan or the scholarship. And thanks to Kendra, as always, for making things go so smoothly and effectively. It's best wishes to you, and hope that you become part of our Tung Fu community.